If you want to understand the voices inside your mind that most of the time make you suffer, you have to understand the ego. So, to help you out, today I'll tell you what it is, how does it sound, and how you can pacify it. And as a bonus, in the end of this video, I'll talk about ego death as well, which is a very common term used in spiritual communities. So, if you like these topics, stay with me and let's start. To understand better what the ego is, look at it as the operational system that allows you to exist in this reality. And it does so through three main functions: identification, comparison, and survival. Every single word that you use to describe yourself is part of your ego. These labels define the roles you play in this society. And you have a list of them for every aspect of your life. Some will define who you are as a person, others the work you do, your contribution for society, others the roles you play in your family, your lifestyle. Everything that forms your identity on this world belongs to your ego. And it's not only about labels. Any object that you identify yourself with, like the car you drive, is part of your ego. Now, let's talk about comparison. Why is your ego always comparing yourself to other people? The answer is quite simple to understand. As an interface and operational system, it is the ego's job to locate you in this reality. And the way it does that is by scanning the world around you and comparing yourself to it so you can know who you are and where you stand. The last function that's part of your ego's responsibility, it is to take care of your survival mechanism. So it looks at the past to understand how life works, it looks at the future as an attempt to predict what might happen, and it searches for any possible threats to your existence. These three functions work together and they are connected. For example, when the ego is verifying your future survival, it uses identification and comparison so it can understand better what are your chances. When you understand how the ego works, it becomes easier to identify the voices inside your head that are coming from it. Any thought related to these three functions, identification, comparison, and survival, is coming from your ego. And it's good that you learn to observe and recognize them because very often they're responsible for drama, negative emotions, and problems. Some of the consequences of your ego voices are fear and anxiety because of the survival mechanism, lower self-esteem or arrogance because of the comparison, or even an existential crisis that happens when your identification system breaks. Now that you know what is the ego, the kind of thoughts it produces, and some of the consequences, the next question is, can you make it go quiet? For as long as you live in this reality, you will have an ego and it will talk to you. The more you strengthen your mind through mental practices like meditation and mindfulness, and the more you learn how to ground yourself on the present moment, it will become less talkative. But it will still talk, especially when you are going through changes in your life, so the trick is to learn how to pacify it. First, you have to develop an observer in the back of your mind so you can become aware about what the ego is saying that's making you suffer. Second, you have to strengthen this observer by giving it power to question and have an argument with your ego. You want the observer to play the devil's advocate and win the discussion with your ego so your ego can shut up. The conversation inside your mind will be very similar to a grown-up, the observer, talking to a 5-year-old child, your ego. Oh my God, look at that guy. He's amazing at it. And look at me, I know nothing. I'm looking stupid here. How long is the guy practicing it? I don't know, it looks like he's been doing that for a while. What about you? How long have you been doing that? I just started. I'm sure when he started, he was looking as stupid as you are now. Give yourself time and practice, and you'll be just like him or even better. Yeah, you're right. I'll make it. Now, let me give you a general example about an anxiety attack related to the future. How you can argue with your ego and make it go quiet. What if that happens? How am I going to deal with that? It's going to be so devastating. When was the last time that you predicted the future and it happened exactly the way it was in your head? I can't remember. Probably because it never happened. Maybe. Are you taking all precautions and doing everything you can to avoid this situation from happening? Yes. If that happens, it's very likely to not be how and when you are thinking. Do you agree with me? Yes. Situation might be different and you might be better equipped to deal with it. Maybe. What about this moment? Is the situation real? Does it exist already? No. So forget about it. If it happens when it happens, you worry about it and deal with it. Yeah, you're right. You see how it works. You gotta keep asking questions and giving arguments to your ego until it agrees with you and goes quiet. The more you practice this kind of debate, stronger this side gets and more peace of mind you have. It is a mental skill, and I'm sure with time and practice, you can master it. Last topic for today, let me clarify what is the ego death during a spiritual awakening. If you have watched the whole video, you can understand that you cannot exist in this reality without an ego, so it doesn't die. In spirituality, what is called ego death is the process of deconstructing the person you were conditioned to be when you were growing up and becoming a person that is more aligned with your true essence. And that's a bit chaotic because your ego doesn't like to let go of any form of identity. It gets lost without it. So during a spiritual awakening, it is normal to go through an existential crisis and think you are going crazy until you figure out the person you are becoming and give your ego a new identity. So you see, the operational system, ego, is still there and it malfunctions, crisis, during the time period that you are trading apps identification. It is just an upgrade, the system doesn't die. On my next video, I'll be talking about the spiritual ego traps to avoid. If you want to watch, make sure you subscribe and activate the notification bell so you can follow up with my content. I hope today's video has helped you to understand better your ego and how to deal with it. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.